Murder of Natalee Holloway. The mystery of what happened to Natalee Holloway, a young girl from Alabama, when she was on Aruba, has been brought to a conclusion after nearly 20 years. In front of her parents, Joran Sloot stated that he had murdered her by beating her to death and then gone home to watch pornographic programs. This information brought the family's hunt for their daughter who had gone missing to a successful conclusion. A Dutch national who is now 36 years old, Sloot, has been considered the primary suspect in the disappearance of an 18-year-old in 2005 for a very long time. Sloot is suspected of being responsible for the disappearance. In federal court on Wednesday, it was revealed that he had indeed finally admitted to being the person responsible for her death. The entrance was made in the event. During the course of his plea bargain, Sloot admitted that he had attempted to coerce Holloway's mother into paying him money in exchange for information about the circumstances surrounding her daughter's death and the location of her remains. It was at the same moment when the confession was made that this revelation took place. As a result of his participation in the conspiracy in the year 2010, he was sentenced to 240 months in jail. During the course of the hearing, the prosecution made the revelation that Sloot had admitted to the crime during an interview with federal police, as well as with Holloway's parents. During the course of the proceedings, he asserted that he had undergone a spiritual rebirth, which he described as the initial manifestation of regret for his activities over the course of the previous 18 years. During the court proceedings, Sloot expressed his regret to the Holloway family as well as to his own family. He said, "I would like to take this opportunity to apologize to the Holloway family, to apologize to my own family, and to say I hope the statement I provided brings some kind of closure to everyone involved." A further point that he brought up was that he had opened his heart to Jesus Christ. "I am not the same person that I used to be in the past." In her testimony before the court, Beth Holloway, the mother of the deceased adolescent, stated that Sloot acknowledged killing her daughter in 2005 and told him, "You put an end to her dreams, her potential, and her possibilities when you bludgeoned her to death in 2005. According to the materials that were submitted to the court, Sloot is believed to have smashed her in the head with a cinder block after she had rebuffed his sexual advances while they were on the beach. After he had taken the life of her child, Sloot allegedly went home and watched pornographic material, according to Beth Holloway, who indicated that Sloot made this assertion. Natalee's killer was confronted by Beth Holloway, who said, "You didn't get what you wanted from Natalee, which was your sexual satisfaction, so you brutally murdered her. I handed up the money to the individual who was responsible for the death of my daughter. The idea is incomprehensible." After that, she continued by saying, "I don't believe that anyone can really wrap their mind around what that means." It was a reference to the charges of extortion that she was making. Before deciding whether or not to find Sloot guilty, the judge, Anna Manasco, indicated that the Holloway family will not find the bones of the child. On the other hand, she did not reveal any additional details regarding this matter. Following the conclusion of the hearing, Sloot stated that after killing her on the beach in Aruba, he put her into the water, and that was the last time that he ever saw her. Beth Holloway notified the reporters who were waiting outside the courthouse that Sloot had made this revelation. After that, she continued by stating that she is very positive that Sloot was the sole person engaged in the murder. Nevertheless, she declined to give any other details regarding his confession. When Sloot was extradited to Alabama in June to face charges in the extortion case, he was already serving a sentence of 28 years in Peru for the murder of another woman in 2010. The murder occurred in 2010. In the year 2010, the murder occurred. "You have brutally murdered 2 women who refused your sexual advances," the court commented, describing the defendant's acts as heinous. "You could be held accountable for your actions." The most dramatic turn in a true crime narrative that has been making headlines ever since Holloway went missing while on vacation to celebrate his high school graduation is his guilty plea and confession. His plea to confession signaled the most dramatic turn in the narrative. She was seen leaving a pub in Aruba with Sloot, who was 19 years old at the time, and the twin brothers Deepak and Satish Kalpo. This was the last time anyone saw her. According to a transcript of Sloot's confession, he recalled Holloway's request to return to the hotel that evening. However, he requested that she go on a stroll with him instead of asking her to return to the hotel. Despite the fact that he was aware of her desire to return to the hotel, he went ahead and did this. Sloot, who was by himself with Holloway at the time, revealed to Holloway that he and Holloway had begun kissing on the beach before she notified him that she wanted to stop. "I implore you to not. For the reason that I am constantly reading her, I am unable to determine which way she leans," Sloot remarked. Following that, Holloway delivered a knee from his knee to the groin of the opponent. As a form of revenge, Sloot stated that he had kicked her in the face extremely hard. Then, as they were hanging out on the beach, he grabbed his cinder block and completely smashed in her head with it. When he grew terrified, he allegedly scooped up Holloway's body and walked into the water with her. until he was up to his knees. He said that he did this all to protect himself. Following the act of pushing her into the lake and abandoning her there, he allegedly hiked back to his residence. Following Holloway's failure to appear for her flight return to the United States, a chaperone reached out to her mother to report her absence. This sparked the beginning of Holloway's mother's research into the circumstances behind her daughter's disappearance, which ultimately lasted for over 20 years. Following their arrest, Sloot and the Calpo twins offered narratives of the events that took place that were in disagreement with one another. In the beginning, he asserted that the three guys had brought Holloway to the beach and then dropped her off at the hotel. However, later on, he asserted that one of the twins had sexually assaulted Holloway while she was at the beach. Following a period of incarceration that lasted for 3 months, the three individuals were released due to a lack of evidence, and Sloot was granted permission to return to the Netherlands. 2 years later, Aruban prosecutors accused the three individuals of being involved in the involuntary manslaughter of Holloway. However, once again, they were released from custody due to the absence of substantial evidence that Holloway had died as a result of a violent crime and that they were responsible for it. In March of 2010, Sloot made contact with Beth Holloway's attorney, claiming to have information on the whereabouts of the remains of her child and promising to reveal the location where the body was buried in exchange for a payment of $250,000. It was the attorney's intention to travel to Aruba in order to give Sloot permission to drive him to a residence where, according to Sloot, the remains would be discovered in the concrete foundation of the building. Following that, a sum of $10,000 was transferred to Sloot, and subsequently, an additional $15,000 was transferred to him from Beth's account. During the time that he went to meet with the attorney representing the Holloway family as part of a sting operation, he was unaware that the conversation was being recorded on video at the relevant moment. This would later result in him being indicted in the state of Alabama on charges of extortion and wire fraud on the basis of the allegations. On the other hand, providing him with extradition would require a considerable period of time. Following his escape from Peru, where he had been wanted for the murder of a young woman named Stephanie Flores, Sloot was captured in Chile. He had been wanted for the crime. As a result of his participation in the criminal activity, he was detained in Peru until this summer, when he was brought back to the United States of America as a result of an extradition transaction. The possibility exists that he may return to Peru in order to finish serving his sentence for murder there before beginning his sentence in the United States for extortion. This is a circumstance that is quite probable. The revelation was delivered by Beth Holloway outside of the courtroom. Today, I can tell you with absolute certainty that after 18 years, Natalee's case is solved, she said. As far as my involvement goes, the game is over. Exactly 5 years after Natalee Holloway disappeared, Sloot was accused with the murder of Stephanie Flores, whom he had met at a casino in Peru. The murder case was brought against Sloot in 2010. After Sloot was apprehended, he confessed to the murder of Flores, stating that she intruded into his private life by reading articles about him on the internet. He made this statement shortly after he was held accountable. Later on, he made an attempt to retract his confession, but the judge decided that it was still genuine. As a result of his involvement in the murder of Stephanie Flores Ramirez, Joran Sloot has been given a sentence of 28 years in jail in Peru. For his role in the murder of Stephanie Flores, Joran Sloot is still doing time in prison. Would you like it? Hit the like button and subscribe to our channels for more interesting and informative videos.